Have you ever wondered about the brutal methods used in wars that are not taught in schools due to their disturbing nature? Today, we're going to lift the curtain on some of these horrifying tactics, not to shock or frighten, but to reveal the reality of conflict, often sanitized in our history books. War, in its essence, is a display of human brutality, a struggle for survival where the rules of civility are often discarded in favor of victory. From the trenches of World War I, where gas attacks induced psychological terror, to the Pacific theater of World War II, where firebombing became a chilling strategy, history is riddled with these grim episodes. Even in antiquity, Roman legionnaires turned their footwear into weapons, while the Mongols, in their sweeping conquests, resorted to mass genocide. It's a sobering reminder of how far humanity can descend in the name of war. Prepare yourself as we delve into the darkest corners of military history. Imagine a battlefield not just filled with bullets and bombs, but also the silent and invisible killer known as chemical warfare. It's a terrifying reality that soldiers faced, particularly in the First World War. The onset of chemical warfare introduced a new level of horror into the battlefield. Soldiers were subjected to mustard gas and nerve agents, substances that could silently creep into the trenches, causing unimaginable pain and suffering. These deadly gases didn't just affect the soldiers on the front line, but also countless civilians caught in the crossfire. The aftermath was horrific, leaving victims gasping for breath, their lungs seared by the lethal chemicals. The effects were not only physical but psychological too, instilling a deep-seated fear that lingered long after the war ended. The silent death from within, chemical warfare stands as a chilling reminder of the lengths humans will go to in the name of war. The term massacre itself sends shivers down our spine. In war, it becomes a chilling reality. The annals of history are stained with the bloodshed of massacres and genocides, carried out in the name of conquest, ideology, or sheer hatred. Take, for example, the Nanking Massacre during the Second Sino-Japanese War. This horrific event, also known as the Rape of Nanking, saw the brutal murder and sexual assault of countless Chinese civilians and disarmed soldiers. The exact death toll remains a topic of debate, but estimates often reach into the hundreds of thousands. Then, there's the Rwandan genocide, a horrifying display of ethnic violence that unfolded over a mere 100 days. The genocide claimed the lives of an estimated 500,000 to 1 million Tutsi, a significant portion of the country's population. It was a dark chapter in human history, a testament to the depths of animosity and the devastating effects of dehumanization. These events and countless others like them expose the horrific extremes of human cruelty and the capacity for violence when empathy and humanity are abandoned. Massacres and genocides, a horrifying testament to the extremes of human cruelty. In the name of science, some have justified the most inhumane actions. Nowhere is this more evident than in the medical experiments conducted by the Nazi regime during the Second World War. Stripped of their humanity and dignity, prisoners in concentration camps such as Auschwitz were subjected to horrific procedures under the guise of scientific inquiry. These were not mere experiments but deliberate acts of torture. Victims were exposed to deadly diseases, subjected to sterilization, and endured trauma under extreme conditions, all while their tormentors took detailed notes. The objective? To further the Nazis' perverse racial theories and develop methods of mass murder. Many of these experiments were led by Josef Mengele, the infamous Angel of Death, a man whose name still sends shivers down the spine. His fascination with twins led to countless children being subjected to his cruel and bizarre experiments, often resulting in their death. A dark chapter in our history, human experimentation in wars haunts us to this day. Imagine living in a city where death rained from the skies. Such was the terrifying reality of terror bombing, an indiscriminate attack on civilian areas that turned bustling metropolises into charred wastelands. One cannot discuss this brutal war method without mentioning the firebombing of Tokyo during World War II. The attack transformed the city into a fiery inferno, with the resulting loss of life reaching staggering proportions. Across the globe, the city of Dresden in Germany suffered a similar fate. A cultural and architectural gem, Dresden was reduced to rubble in a matter of days. The haunting images of the city's iconic church, the Frauenkirche, standing amidst a sea of destruction, remain a stark reminder of the devastation caused by such attacks. In both instances, the targets were not military installations or strategic points, but ordinary citizens. These attacks were designed to instill fear, to break the spirit of the people, and to force a swift end to the war. But at what cost? The ethical implications of such tactics have been debated ever since. Terror bombing, a tactic that brings the horror of war to unsuspecting civilians. Sexual violence in wars is a brutal reality that often goes unspoken. It is a method of warfare that transcends eras and continents, used as a tactic to instill fear, demoralize, and exert power over communities. From the conflicts of antiquity to modern battles, this horrific practice has been employed in various forms. It is a weapon used to dehumanize and degrade, leaving deep psychological scars that surpass the duration of any conflict. The Democratic Republic of Congo, for instance, has been a modern-day epicenter of this unspeakable act, where sexual violence has been used as a strategic tool in a power play that's left countless victims in its wake. Genital mutilation, a particularly vile form of sexual violence, has also been used as a weapon of war. This brutal act not only inflicts physical harm but also aims to destroy the social fabric of communities, leaving lasting imprints of terror. A disturbing aspect of war, sexual violence remains a brutal method often overlooked. If chemical warfare wasn't terrifying enough, imagine the horror of biological warfare. Biological warfare is a sinister and often overlooked aspect of warfare history, where life itself is weaponized to cause havoc and death. One chilling example is the work of the infamous Japanese Unit 731 during World War II. This covert research group conducted horrendous experiments, weaponizing diseases like bubonic plague, cholera, and anthrax. They tested these deadly weapons on human subjects in a horrific violation of medical ethics. The goal was simple yet terrifying: to create biological weapons for use in warfare, turning nature's own creations into tools of mass destruction. The devastation of these experiments and their potential for widespread destruction is a dark chapter in our history. Biological warfare, another grim reminder of the lengths humans will go to win wars. The brutal treatment of prisoners of war reveals another dark side of conflicts. Torture and atrocities are not isolated incidents. They are systemic and often state-sanctioned forms of violence. The Iraq War, for example, exposed a dark chapter of abuse and inhumanity at Abu Ghraib prison. Detainees were subjected to physical, psychological, and sexual abuse, acts deplorable and against the Geneva Conventions. But the reach of such atrocities extends far beyond one prison or one war. Throughout history, countless soldiers and civilians alike have been victims of the unthinkable, caught in the crossfire of conflicts not of their choosing. These acts are more than just tactics or strategies. They are grave violations of human rights, demonstrating a chilling disregard for human dignity and life. Such instances are sobering, demanding our attention and reflection. They implore us to question, to challenge, and to strive for a world where such acts are relics of a dark past, not headlines of the present. Torture and atrocities, a stark reminder of the inhumanity that war often brings. We have explored some of the most brutal methods of warfare. As we journeyed through history's darkest corners, we've encountered the chilling realities of war. From the terror unleashed by chemical warfare in World War I, where mustard gas and nerve agents claimed countless lives, to the horrifying human experiments conducted by the Nazi regime, war has often brought out the worst of humanity. We discovered the brutalities of massacres and genocides, where lives were extinguished en masse, such as the Nanking Massacre, the My Lai Massacre, and the Rwandan genocide. We also examined the indiscriminate terror bombing of civilian areas, like the firebombing of Tokyo and Dresden in World War II, and the carpet bombing of Cambodia during the Vietnam War. We delved into the shocking use of genital mutilation and sexual violence as weapons of war, a heinous tactic still employed in conflicts today, such as the ongoing unrest in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We also explored the sinister world of biological warfare, where biological agents were weaponized, like the Japanese Unit 731's experiments during World War II. Lastly, we discussed the gruesome torture and atrocities inflicted upon prisoners of war, detainees, and civilians, like the abuse at Abu Ghraib prison during the Iraq War. Each of these brutal methods has left a deep scar on humanity's conscience, reminding us of the profound depths to which conflict can plunge us. They stand as grim reminders of the price of war, the cost borne not just by those on the battlefield, but also by innocent civilians caught in the crossfire. As we reflect on these chilling aspects of warfare, we must remember the importance of peace and the necessity to strive for it. These brutal methods of warfare serve as stark warnings from history, urging us to learn from the past and work towards a future free from such horrors. Which method do you think was the most brutal? Share your thoughts in the comments below.